Hey there, just me and the cat hanging out right now, but I wanted to talk about what the Outer Coastal Plain is. A lot of people are wondering sort of what's OCP stand for. It stands for Outer Coastal Plain, and that is an American viticultural area, which is sort of a government definition of a place in our country that is especially conducive to growing wine grapes and making good wine. Um, and what you're going to see on this picture I'm showing is that this is where the OCP is. It's this green area, the lower portion of New Jersey. That's the Outer Coastal Plain. That's our boundaries. And this area has been identified as being exceptionally suited to making great wines. And one of the reasons for that, if you look here, is that this area is really surrounded by water. It sort of sticks out into the Atlantic Ocean. And if you look down at the bottom around Cape May there, you see the Delaware Bay also having a water influence on our area. And what that water influence does is it moderates temperatures. So it's a little bit warmer in the winter, a little bit cooler in the summer. But that leads to a longer growing season, and which is really helpful in making these grapes and just creates very favorable conditions. In addition to the soil type and just our general climate here and weather, which are really well suited to making this a great wine growing region. In fact, a lot of people have compared the Outer Coastal Plain to conditions in Bordeaux, which is a very famous winemaking area. But topography-wise, climate-wise, soil-wise, etc., they've got a lot in common. And actually, you'll see a lot of growers around here making Bordeaux-style wines because this area is conducive to that. So one of the other things I wanted to show you here is that, the Outer Coastal Plain being an AVA, it's just one of many. There are a lot throughout this country, and if you look at this graphic, all of these areas that are sort of circled in black are AVAs throughout the United States. And of course you see a lot along the west coast there, California being the most famous wine producing state in the US, but you see that they're dotted all over. And so if you think about it, for those of us who live in the United States, the weather and the soil and everything in California are very different than they are in, say, Texas or Kentucky or Michigan or in New Jersey on the Outer Coastal Plain. So you have to think about those differences, because those differences, the difference in the air quality, the soil type, the average temperatures and rainfall and climate, those are all known as terroir. Collectively, and that's what winemakers think about terroir, which are all those influencing factors on the grapes. And so our terroir here on the Outer Coastal Plain is going to be very different than all of these other places. So I think, and what I'm showing you here is that we're 2,500 miles from California. So again, people have this perception that American wine is California wine, and that's the only place that makes it, and that's indicative of the style that we do here. But 2,500 miles is a huge distance, and I'm going to compare that now to what you see here. This is Europe, and the line on the left starts in France and goes 2,500 miles to the east, and actually you wind up in Kazakhstan. So you can see that between Kazakhstan and France, there's a lot of distance there, and you'll see Italy, you'll see Greece, you'll see Germany, Spain is just south of France. But the point that I'm making is that we think of all of those different countries in Europe as having very different and distinct wines. Thus, we should think that in America, in different growing regions, you're going to have very different and distinct wines, and that is in fact the case. And for those who do drink American wines outside of just the California offerings, that there are different grapes that do really well in different AVAs in the United States, and there's different characteristics that are brought out in those grapes. So I show you all of this. One thing to know about our Outer Coastal Plain is it's a relatively new AVA. It was only established a little less than 10 years ago. And although, it's been known for a long time. I mean, even in the early settlers recognized the Bordeaux-like qualities of New Jersey and the ability to grow grapes. And they did grow grapes for a long time. But as far as a wine industry, I mean, it was really killed off in New Jersey back in the early part of the 20th century when Prohibition was around. That ended in the 1930s, but even after that, there were a lot of very prohibitive laws on the books in New Jersey that governed winemaking, and so it was really tough to make a living as a winery here. And those laws didn't start to get relaxed until about the 1980s, and then you started to see some wineries pop up and started producing some good things. But it wasn't until the last 10 years that that New Jersey's gotten serious about taking advantage of this asset that it has of being having great conditions for a great wine growing region. So it's exciting because the estimates are that between 2010 and 2020, the number of wineries and vineyards are going to grow, are going to double on the outer coastal plain. We're already seeing some new ones come that are doing great work, and it's an exciting time to be paying attention to the outer coastal plain because they already are proving that they can do great things with well-known grapes like Cabernet and Merlot and Cab Franc and Pinot Grigio, etc. But there's also some maybe lesser known grapes to some people like Vidal Blanc or Blaufränkisch or Chambourcin that they're getting really great results with too. So it's a great time to get out and start to discover the wines from this region and start to discover what the outer coastal plain can do with those grapes that's different than France or Argentina or California, and really kind of get to know the personality of outer coastal plain wines. They're terrific. So with that, I hope this gave you a great idea of what it is that the outer coastal plain is and why we call it that. And I welcome your comments, feedback, etc. Okay? Take care now. Bye-bye.